let's talk about one of the things that you have to constantly work on in your studio. This is something that you have to constantly keep evolving over time, no matter how much or how little gear you have. This is something that we all need to stay on top of. The studio is currently an absolute wreck, as it always is when I finish with a video or a photo session. The video of this thing should be live now, or if it's not live yet, it's gonna be live very, very soon. But every time you get a new piece of gear, or anytime you change anything, you have to reorganize your studio so that way it stays the most productive and streamlined that it can possibly stay. If you haven't seen my Moog Subsequent 37 video yet, go check it out. It's a really good one, but I gotta figure out where I'm gonna put this. Where is this synthesizer gonna go? So that way it is very productive and streamlined for me. I never have to move it, I never have to reach for it. So we have got to get the new Audioscape 260 Subsequent 37, and I got another 500 series rack, and I've got to figure out where it's gonna go so that way it makes the most sense and is the most creative, the most streamlined for me and my situation. So I'm gonna do that, and then we're gonna go over some points on how you can better set up your studio to be more streamlined and more proficient. Okay, so the first thing that is going to help me with this is these cables that I got from Trace Audio. Now, these are power cables, except they have one inlet and you can plug 3 pieces of gear into them. They are fanned out. What is cool about this, I'll put links down below, not sponsored by the way. What is cool about these and how it's gonna help me is I have 5 power conditioners up here, and there's not really any reason for that. It's taking up 5 rack spaces just for power conditioners, but I kinda need that many outlets. So what's gonna be great about this is gonna let me use less power conditioners. It's gonna give me more rack space. The important thing is if you use these, and what I'm gonna have to do, you have to calculate how much power your gear takes, because I think these are rated 12 amps or something like that. But this is awesome, this is gonna save me rack space. So that's number 1, links down below. Okay, so I pretty much have the desk reworked out. Maybe a couple small things that I need to readjust. We got that in there. We got the new 500 rack in there. So this is all looking good, and I'm gonna go over why I put everything where I put it in a second. But next, we got to figure out this. I have used this in so many sessions since I got it. So we got to figure out a way to like incorporate it into the setup. How do I get this to fit into the setup where it's right next to me, always hooked up, always ready to go, but not blocking my guitar amps? It's got a USB, so it's got to connect to the computer all the time. I think this is gonna solve it. So let's find out. I looked for a long time to find this exact stand. I still got some cable management to do, obviously, but I needed it to sit right over the top of this 212 cabinet. And the beauty about this particular one is like these legs are adjustable like this. So it's just super versatile. It goes really low if I need it to. Let me throw the keyboard on there. And now when you set the keyboard up there, it's just in a good spot. It's nice and aligned with everything else. It's exactly where I want it. So when I'm sitting down, when I'm sitting here at the desk, it's just right here. I just reach over and start playing. And that's the reason why the guitar amps and the guitars are over here. The guitar jacks, as I'm holding a guitar, the jack comes out of that side right down there. And so it's the cable just goes from the guitar right to the guitar amp. It's also so that way when I can hold a chord and just go and adjust the knobs on the amp while the chord is still ringing. Workflow. It's all about workflow. I'll put links to this keyboard stand and everything else that I use here in down below. Those links go to Sweetwater. Sweetwater is sponsoring this video. So anytime you need any piece of musical gear, jump on any one of my videos, click on any one of the links. You can buy anything that you need. It doesn't cost you anything extra, but it helps the channel out a lot, and I very, very much appreciate it. So thank you, Sweetwater, for sponsoring this video. Let's talk about racks. Okay, still gotta clean some of this stuff up, but racks, the first thing that I do is monitor controller. My monitor controller goes right here, so that way I can ride the volume on the monitor while my other hand is still on the mouse or on any other piece of hardware. That's the reason the monitor controller is right here. So it's always easy to reach. The next thing is I don't adjust this very often at all. Once this is set, whether I'm tracking or whether I'm mixing, it's staying exactly the same. This piece likely will be the same. Once it's set, it will stay set and it won't be tweaked nonstop throughout a mix. So these are the least important things for me to reach in a mix. Actually, that's the least important thing for me to reach in a mix, because these preamps I just use for tracking. None of this stuff will ever get used in mixing. So it's the furthest away, so that way it doesn't take up space in the sweet spot when I'm mixing. It's way over there. Now this is all gonna constantly get tweaked and changed over time. This is kind of the point of this video, is that constantly reanalyzing what you do and rearranging stuff so that way it's more streamlined and a better workflow. This is a really important thing to me. So vocal compressor on most things, vocal compressor on some things. I also use this a lot on bass guitar. These I want right front and center. My mix bus chain, we can't talk about these yet. My mix bus chain, I want it right here. Kick drum chain, snare drum chain, bass guitar, vocal EQ. These are all things that I want right in front of me all the time, because I want to be right in the sweet spot when I'm adjusting those things. And so those are the things that are very important to me. The reverb got moved all the way over here because this is not something I adjust very often. I might change the tone of it, and then that's it. I don't need to touch it after that. Patch bay, obviously, not something that you need to touch very often, only at the beginning of sessions, hopefully, so it's over there out of the way. So the point that I want to get across in this video is to analyze what it is that you do and how can you refine that workflow? How can you make it so that way you physically have to move less? You physically have to take less steps to accomplish the things that you do on a daily basis. This is something that I'm constantly reevaluating, and I think it's a really big deal. It's something that's really, really important. So I hope that this helped you. This is kind of my thought process when it comes to me, like evaluating what I do and figuring out like where to put stuff. It's all about where my hands need to be. What do I use the most often? What do I use the least often? Which side of the guitar is the cable coming out of? You know, part of the reason why this is sitting here is because it needs to be connected via USB for my use cases. And the computer is right over here. So this wouldn't have worked very well all the way over here because I'd have to get like a 15-foot USB cable to put it all the way over here. So these are the things that go through my head, and how do I streamline this stuff the most, so that way not only does it look great, but it functions flawlessly. Hope that this helped you. Don't forget links down below for everything in this video. I appreciate you guys. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.